Good morning. Anywhere you watching, this is the final take with me, Seni Marena. In the studio today, we have a special guest, Mr. Saikou Sawo, the party leader of the Golden Party, a Golden Era Party, who just joined the People Progressive Party to serve as a flag bearer. Saikou is a young entrepreneur who joined politics a couple of years ago to bring the much needed change. So today, enjoy this show. We'll be talking about a lot of issues, the prospects of PPP with GEP alliance ahead of the 2026 December presidential election. Saikou Sawo, welcome to bring a little music to start the show.
Tune into the final take with MK Marina every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Welcome back to the final take with me, Seni Marina, wherever you are watching. This is live from our virtual studios here in Seattle, Washington. It's 6 p.m. GMT Banjul until 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Washington State. Saikou Sawo, the party leader and flyer of the Golden Era Party, who just joined with the People Progressive Party, is my guest for this Saturday. Saikou Sawo, welcome to the final take with me, Seni Marina.
Thank you so much for having me, Seni. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks for all you do for Gambia, the awareness you bring, the responsible journalism you've displayed over the years. So it's a great honor to be on your platform.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's great to have you here. I have been planning interviews since you announced your intention to contest for the highest office in the country. So once again, thank you for honoring my invitation to appear on this show. Welcome and Mr. Sawo, the fatigue is
Sorry, can you repeat what you said? You're breaking out, so I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay. I said, can you walk us through the key motivations behind the Golden Era Party joining with the PPP and how this alliance came about?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. PPP is a legacy party. They've been in the Gambia for decades. I have a great relationship with with folks within PPP, specifically the Secretary General and party leader Osman Madike Fall. And he became the party leader recently, a couple of years ago. And he has a visionary leadership for the party. He wants the party to evolve. They've been around for decades. And when the previous regime, Jammeh's regime was in power, they had a lot of challenges, roadblocks. They were dormant for years, due to restrictions that was placed, by the other government. But looking now today, in the 24th century, their vision has evolved. They're looking for more young, charismatic intellectual, to lead the party. So Usman Madike Fall had, that same sentiment, and we align on a lot of things. And so through those, open dialogue, communication, we figured PPP is a party we can align ourselves with. It's a party that respects, governance, just democracy, within the party's framework. So it was an ongoing conversation, and I, put everything on the table, my aspirations, to wanting to be, the flag bearer and president, and that was highly welcomed. And we joined forces, and so far it's been fruitful. Both camps are one now. We under the PPP banner, so it's been a great collaboration. And knowing there are actually Gambians and parties out there, it doesn't matter when the party was founded, but they want the best for the Gambia. They know we need to evolve, we need to keep up with the modern times and generation, and their leadership has definitely shown that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mr. Sawo, as the newly appointed or selected flag bearer for the PPP, what specific strength from the Golden Era Party, such as its focus on youth empowerment and national renewal, are you bringing to this partnership?
Yes, we bring, a different perspective, different way of doing politics, but we don't want to come and also maintain the status quo or recycle the same old politics. We, Golden Era has always been, people-centric and solution-based parties. We're not here to divide Gambians any further. The country is already polarized and divided. We want to bring all Gambians along, and we want to make sure, in 2026, whoever represents Gambia represents the whole of the Gambia. It doesn't matter what region you're from. It doesn't matter what your tribe is. We just see one Gambia, and we want every Gambian to participate. Nobody should be left behind. No region should feel like they're not heard. So we're bringing that people-centric, solution-based approach, and we're actually reaching out to grassroots, having dialogue in these different communities. And then if you look at even the Golden Line agenda, it's not something we created in our office. We actually did a survey all across the Gambia to see, what change do the people need, from a new government? What are the agendas that we should prioritize? So we derived the Golden Line agenda, after spending millions in survey. So we're here for the people, we stand with the people, and PPP has the same vision. So we're gonna join, we're gonna synergize. PPP has been around for decades. They've been evolving, in terms of their approach. And then we are coming in to also amplify and augment that approach. We're able to tap into the more younger demographic. And there's a very youthful demographic. We have about 65%, 45 and under that are youth-based. So, and if you look at even, our sponsorship programs, we've been very focused on the youth and women and communities that are in dire need of help. So with both parties, we recognize our strength, and now we're synergizing to definitely, put the issues on the table and see how our agenda can address, all the issues that we face in this country.
Absolutely. Mr. Sawo, with December election, your change against the incumbent and other opposition figures, what polling or internal data give you confidence?
We do have an internal team, PPP has, but we believe in grassroots. We've done a lot of mobilization, and every community we go to, the dialogue has been very positive. Because, when you go out to this community, understand their issues, and we're not getting the government, and we're taking from our pockets to say, hey, this is what we can do for this community. We're not going to wait until we become a ruling party. These are issues that affect you as a Gambian, and we are all Gambian. You know, like we went to the Farato community, we dug a borehole, $300,000 was spent. We didn't wait to become a ruling party to do that. You know, it's a necessity. You know, women shouldn't have to struggle. It's already hard being a farmer in this country, but you know, we don't have the machines. We don't have, they struggle a lot. And then water, come on, water is an essential. You know, nobody should struggle with having, accessibility to clean drinking water. And most of these farmers, you go to their farm, they depend on rainfall. Outside of rainy season, it's very hard to get water. So we're out there in this community, we're spending our resources to do the needful. We're now waiting to become a ruling party. So our actions speak louder than words. And and that's what has inspired me to keep going. Because when I first started, obviously there's a lot of challenge. But then when you meet these people in their homes, in the farms, we've been to Seattle, we've mobilized we've been to 55 towns and villages all across Gambia. And, I kid you not, most of them are saying, they still believe change will come to the Gambia. So when people that you're reaching out to have this belief that, hey, together we can come together we can do this, that's more than enough inspiration for me. And that's what energizes me to keep going. That's my fuel. So, so that tells you Gambians have not lost hope completely. They believe they are genuine Gambians.
Saikou, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Saikou, you might become the youngest for the. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear you. The line is breaking out. I'm not sure if it's from my end or yours. But can you hear me clearly?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you very well from my end.
Okay, great. Yeah, you can go ahead.
PPP in history at the age of just 38, you were selected. PPP these that was as a young person looking to change the status quo.
Yes, can you repeat the question? You keep breaking out. I'm so sorry. The internet, like when you speak, you break out a lot. Can you hear me?
Youngest. I would be the youngest.
So, Sani, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you very well.
Okay. The connection keeps breaking out. Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I sincerely apologize.
Tune into the final take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Tuning in, this is the final take with me, Seni Marina. It seems we're having little technical issues, but Saikou is right here with us again. Saikou, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. I think it has to do with internet connection. But anyway, my question is, you probably, will go into history of the PPP as the youngest flag bearer in the party's 50 years history. As a young man under 40, how does this feel, for you to serve as a flag bearer for a historical party like the PPP that governed the country for more than 30 years?
It's a great feeling. I'm 37, and that speaks a lot about how the party thinks. The executives within the party, the people of the party. They recognize talents. They want change, and they want the youth, to spearhead this change. And I want to be a role model. I want to inspire other Gambians. There's a lot of intellectual Gambians, even smarter than me, that are out there. We want them to participate when it comes to nation building. Take ownership. We when we join hands collectively, we can be a strong force in this country. So, sometimes it takes just one person to take the lead, and then you could inspire so many others. Because if you look at the political landscape in Gambia, the bar has been set so low. So now we need, more creative people, thinkers, deep philosophers to come in and share their expertise. I'm not saying I know how to solve Gambia's problem entirely. We need like-minded Gambians, those with subject matter expertise. Let's join hands, let's salvage this country.
Absolutely. PPP has a historic base in rural and traditional communities across the country, while the Golden Party era appeal, to urban and younger voters. How has this alliance expanded or unify your support base across the country? Because Golden Era Party is established in the Combos. The party you just joined to lead them in the coming election is more of a rural base. How do you reconcile this urban appeal and rural appeal joining together?
Yes, like I said, we're going to synergize. They're already great in the rural area. We are doing it in the combo, which is the urban area. Now we're going to synergize. We're one entity now. We're all operating under the banner of PPP. So that's what we said. Strength. When two great people notices, hey, this collaboration will strengthen their purpose, it makes sense for them to align. It makes sense for them to come together. So this is a collaboration where we see, strengths that meets purpose, that would amplify our purpose, that would push our agenda out there. So both parties recognize those strengths. That's what we want to synergize. We want to, put our resource together, mobilization effort, and reach every mass in the Gambia.
Saikou, you might be a new to many rural folk. Like they will be like, Saikou is not someone we know, but the party he is, representing is a well-known party. How do you navigate these challenges when canvassing votes in both urban and rural Gambia?
Yes, our outreach has been, has been very expansive. We've already started reaching out to different communities, creating stickers and flyers, and we have a mobilization force, that are going to different communities to reintroduce. We've been to some of these communities already as Golden Era, but now we're saying, hey, we've joined PPP. It's still the same vision. A lot of the things we have on our agenda aligns with what PPP has. But the only thing changing now is, the vehicle. The vehicle has evolved, but if you look at the vision, it's still the same. And there are some things they have, within their policy and framework that we didn't have. And I'm like, hey, this is a great idea. Let's combine both. So like they say, two heads are better than one. So it's good, to see, both parties put ego aside and unite for the better cause. And no one party or individual is bigger than Gambia.
Absolutely. So now let's come to coalition talks. We have seen, and history has taught us that no individual or single political party can emerge, victorious against incumbent, especially in the African setup where incumbent have a lot of power at their disposal. And coming to Gambian own case in 2000 and in 2016, it was because of a coalition of various political actors that come together, irrespective of their ideology, to get rid of one of the Africa's most brutal dictator, Yaya Jammeh. And this is history that coalition power. There are ongoing coalition talks with other opposition parties or figures to form a broader front against the ruling NPP. If so, what common ground will you be seeking? Are you going to be part of these coalition talks to ensure that, because your goal is to get rid of Barrow and his government, is the PPP open to such coalition talks? And what common ground are you seeking, if there is any?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Like I said, PPP, Gambia is greater than PPP. Gambia is bigger than me. No individual entity or party is bigger than the program, which is Gambia. So, coalition means, different forces uniting. So, PPP's leadership, I can assure you, Honorable Usman Madike file is definitely open to this. And I have the same sentiment as well. We need, all parties to put your ego aside and come unite, work together. For me, the common denominator should be transparency, right? And honesty. So with different parties coming along, every party may have a different agenda, for why they want to come, but we should look at the greater good here. We want a better Gambia, we want to get rid of corruption in this country. We want a working system. So we should be able to put everything on the table. We should be able to discuss, some of these conversations are not going to be easy, right? So, but we should look at the country first. We're doing this for Gambia, and then the mistakes from 2016 coalition should not repeat itself. So this is where transparency comes in. We need to put everything on the table. We need to go back and learn from what happened in 2016, because we just had a coalition 10 years ago. And here we are 10 years later asking for the same thing. So when we go back to the Gambian people, the first question is, how is this coalition different from the 2016? So we should be prepared. We should have great answers to, responses to some of these questions. Even journalists like yourself will be asking. I wasn't part of the 2016, coalition, but I do know some of the, key players that were involved, So we also need guidance from those people from 10 years ago to let us know, hey, this is where we did wrong. We are admitting to our mistake. We take accountability, but this is what we're going to do differently. So I'm happy to be part of the discussion. I'm happy to, lend my voice, see how best we can, to ensure we don't make the same mistakes.
Saikou, you talk about the lessons from the 2016 coalition. And many political analysts will argue that the coalition, although brought victory, has also put Gambia into a big problem, the problem that we are currently facing right now. So what lessons do you think we can learn from 2016 coalition to inform your party approach to this future coalition?
So our approach would be to prioritize what we do during the first 100 days. We should develop, a framework, especially when it comes to, executing board reforms, cleaning up, because if you look at our, different sectors within, Gambia's government today, we need a complete overhaul. We need to make sure there are term limits in the new constitution. We need to make sure the government just doesn't have absolute power to just do whatever. We need checks and balances. The executive branch shouldn't just have the absolute power to just take unilateral action across the board. So some of these things, need to be done within the first 100 days. So that transitional, that period is very critical. Right? So when a coalition is formed, and whoever becomes, the leader of the coalition, those are things it must be transparent. It must be publicly announced. Hey, this is the agenda they have, and this is what they're going to do within the 400 days, and let Gambians hold them accountable. So those are some of the mistakes that happened the last time. and we shouldn't repeat the same mistake. We should think broader, a better Gambia, because we want to set this framework in place. That way, it doesn't matter who come in the next 10, 15, 20 years, they will still abide by these rules, and we will have stronger governance, the stability that the country needs, fighting corruption, having stronger institutions. Because, if you have weak institutions, even investors don't want to come here because there's no stability. Anything could change, within the last minute. So, there are people outside of the Gambia, they're watching. So if you have strong institutions, that respect the rule of law, governance, they have structured, governance structure, term limits, the executive branch just doesn't have all the executive powers. It instills hope. Even investors will come because they know, we have a more transparent, government. So these are some of the things that need to be put on the table, and it should be done with honesty and, integrity and full transparency to the Gambian public. Because we feel, it's something we should be able to sell to the Gambian public. So it's something we should put on the table. Like, hey, these are what the leaders came up with. This is what Gambia needs. And then we'll definitely get that support, because at the end of the day, we need Gambians to support that coalition agenda. So it needs to be public, it needs to be fully transparent.
Saikou, coalition, history-wise, taught us that coalitions never last. We have seen it in the Gambia and also Senegal right now. There is some political issues between the PASTEF leadership, the Ousmane Sonko and Jamoy Faye, although it doesn't appear like the Gambian case. What caution do you think opposition leaders should take when going into coalition to avoid what happened in 2026 going forward?
I mean, like I said, in life, trust is everything, right? Even we had an agreement. We'll go about it. We have an interview at 6 p.m. It's my responsibility to make sure I'm attending this program at 6. So whatever agreement we have in place, we need every entity or individual to make sure that we're feeling their vote within the agreement. Because dispute arises when I feel like, hey, MK promised me X, Y, and Z. He didn't do it. So why should I fulfill mine, right? So that's why I said honesty, trust, integrity needs to be part of everything you do. And then if there's transparency, there's nothing to hide, right? Even the Gambian public will be like, hey, Saikou, you're not a man of your word. Hey, MK, you're not why should we believe you? Because you haven't fulfilled what you promised. So everything needs to be put on the table, and then the public should be able to call out, the troublemakers, the ones that are not, strictly following, whatever the pact requires, because everything is transparent, everything is public information, and if dispute arises, or the blame game, we can pinpoint, who, which party or what individual is causing the friction. So it comes down to trust. It comes down to so we need people that when they say A is A, when they say it's B,
right.
it's B. Right. Yeah, it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. Saikou, I want to just seek your own opinion about this, because now you are a political leader and also a flag bearer of a very historic party. Do you think that Gambians should give PPP another opportunity after what happened 30 years after their government was toppled by a young military leader, Yaya Jammeh, who led on to be a very brutal dictator? People accuse PPP of nepotism, of corruption. They say PPP even caused all this problem that the country is facing. What plans do you have to change these dynamics? Do you have plans to change people to what they think about the PPP to give them and not be voted in office? Do you think that the people will die 30 years ago? 40, 50 years ago?
Yes, So, just to answer the question, Sadauda was a man, with integrity, right? He's served public office.
Do you get my question, Saikou?
Yes, I get your question. You were breaking out a bit, but I get your question. So I was talking about Sadauda, the first, the president from the First Republic. He ruled with integrity. There was a lot of things he did. If you look at even their fourth, political bureau in Banjul, he took out a loan from Standard Chartered to build that. He had the state resources. He could have just used public funds to build that, like we see happen today. And then, even coming down to when, that regime was toppled by, Jammeh, they did set up, a commission. And then, one of the lady from Ghana that was spearheading that refuted a lot of claims, because the actual report was amended. But again, I would like to digress from what happened 30, 40 years ago, because, two different, governments came after that. Our focus is, the future, what do we have for Gambia? How can we, transform the Gambia? So that has been my primary focus. And even when Honorable Mamadi Kefa, the Secretary General of the party, he had the same vision, what can we do differently today? How can we become accountable to the people? How can we ensure, good governance, accountability and transparency is the norm of today? So our focus is the future, learning from our past mistakes and seeing how better. And you can see, it's a very balanced party. They're very open-minded, and they understand, the dynamics has also changed. We need, more young, visionary, well put Gambians, to lead this country. So the mindset, and then, it's been 60 years, since the party has formed, Oje Jallo and different people took leadership until now we have Madike Fall as the Secretary General of the party. So it has changed hands a few times, and, what Honorable Madike Fall has been able to accomplish, within this, few years has been, it hasn't gone unnoticed. So now the party is, more strategic thinking. They're thinking about the future. They're thinking of how, we can solve the key issues of Gambia today.
So you think that the party has now rebrand itself, to come and, get back the leadership and put the Gambia into that golden era time, like the golden era party, because
Exactly.
people will be saying PPP, during the PPP time, it was a golden era time. We have lost that lost glory because PPP brought in those very successful parastatals like Gamtel, GAMS, a lot of GPA, and all of these institutions are near dead now. Do you think that it's time to bring back that golden era days of the PPP where people can survive on $2, $5?
Exactly. You just, said it all. We had a stable currency back then. We established a lot of institutions that are still operating today. So I feel like this is a renaissance. It's a rebirth of the party. And we want to usher in the golden era, where Gambians can live comfortably. Back then, Gambians didn't even have to travel abroad. There was no visa between Gambia and UK, right? And Gambians didn't even care about traveling abroad. So, we want to bring back that mindset. It's like, hey, you can make it here in the Gambia. You can work hard and make it. Because if you look at the situation in Gambia today, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you will never make it in this country. The system is broken, and then the youth are desperate. They've lost hope, and every year more and more people are dying, going through the back way. So we want to usher in the golden era. We want to tell people, hey, there's a reward when you work hard. You can start from nothing to something. It's just like Gambians going to abroad for opportunities, right? We want to create those opportunities here in the Gambia. So that way we can be proud Gambians. We can be Gambians that, other countries, we're a small country, but we could be the mightiest in the region. I don't see any limitations to why that cannot be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For those tuning in, this is the final take with me, Seni Marina. Live in the studio is the flag bearer of the PPP candidate, Mr. Saikou Sawo. who is chosen as the flag bearer for the PPP for the December 2026 presidential election. Mr. Sawo, as a leader, emphasizing discipline and collective responsibility, what does this move to join the PPP mean for young Gambians under 40 who make up a significant portion of the electorate? How will you create opportunity for them? Should you be given the opportunity to lead the country?
Yes, if I'm given the opportunity, I'm going to prioritize, key sectors, within the Gambia, starting from agriculture. Yeah. We need to have, we're going to prioritize, value chain, because if you look at Gambia today, when it comes to generating revenue, we haven't diversified our economy as much. So now we're going to focus more on agro processing. So we need to, be able to process our own raw materials into finished goods. So we, if you look at, North Bank, Lower River, Central River, just along, River Gambia could be our main, the economic backbone, right? So we need to modernize. We need ports along the river. So that way, agro processing, agro industrialization will be easy, right? From the farm, we have cold chain facilities, for storage, and then from there we have industries that can quickly refine, or process these raw materials into finished goods. So, through value creation, we can create so many jobs. And then we're also going to boost, the tourism sector. We're going to focus a lot more on ecotourism and cultural tourism. We need to modernize and figure out ways to make Gambia, to brand Gambia as, hey, this is one of the best places to go to Africa. We have about 4 to 5 islands that are not, they're not operating, in the manner, of capacity, because they haven't modernized, a lot of these areas. And then there's so many activities that can be done along River Gambia that can also boost tourism, parasailing, river sports, and a lot of things, and also cultural tourism. And then we're also going to look at how we can create jobs in the digital sector, right? Because if you look at Gambia today, corruption and all these embezzlements are happening because we haven't digitized, where we receive a lot of this revenue. So those key areas need to be digitized, so we need to we need to transform, our mode of operation more into digitization, digitize, our existing infrastructure, and see how we can get more fintech into Gambia. And then, if you look at even the tourism sector, it's very underutilized. We always focus more on the coast. But if you look at along River Gambia, we can have strategic partnerships with, 5-star resort companies to come into Gambia, create jobs and build, state-of-the-art institutions that will boost tourism along the river, not just along the coast, because our focus would be to decentralize opportunity in the whole of Gambia. It shouldn't be just focused in the Congo area. We can, we can boost trade and economy in Lower River, in Central River, all those areas. We can build infrastructure along River Gambia to make, logistics easy, even railway systems, good road network. So that way it's easy, even when people come to this country to invest, it's easy to export, and it's easy to reach wider global market. So these are all the areas we're going to, focus in to quickly create jobs. And we're also going to look at the circular economy, how we can, change waste to value, because we have a lot of, organic waste and that are just sitting there. So we're going to look at how we can harness those waste into energy, bioenergy, so that way we can become more energy independent. If you go to the rural areas like Basse, we can create solar farms there, that could also augment the amount of energy we produce, So these are all sectors that can generate, a lot of revenue that can ensure we have good paying jobs. And then, you look at the construction industry today, everything comes in. So we're going to look at steel fabrication, how we can make our own steel. There are so many, cars on the roadside. How can we recycle that, into other products and, put that right back into the economy. So there's so many ways, that I can think of, off the top of my head. Even fishing, right? We can process this fish into canned foods. We can process them We can smoke them and export them overseas. And so through value chain, we can accomplish a lot, and we can create thousands of jobs even without seeking single funds from overseas.
Okay. Saikou, you remind me of the PPP policies then. Both of us might be young because we are all under 40 right now. But I remember there was a river transportation. I am from Kudang. And then I remember when I was very young, my sisters and brothers used to use river to travel to Kuntauro. There was Gambia ferry service. They would pay, I remember, $2 to, take a ferry, cruise around the river banks, all the way to Wasu and Kuntauro. Janjambure, the ferry will anchor there. And then the next hour, the ferry is back to either Jaren, Kudang, or, around the river banks. Do you have plans to revive these positive PPP policies? Also, we remember the Gambia grounded corporation. I remember they used to use grounded oil. They export it, but that's not happening now. Is there any plans, or are these plans part of manifesto for the PPP, ahead of the election? Or are you using the Golden Era Party? Because I have seen you have put a lot of documents on the Golden Era, but since you have joined the PPP, which is understandable, you have not come up with a, proposed plan as to what you want to achieve. Are you using the plan that you work for the Golden Party era and transition it into the PPP? Because you have migrated now, you are together. And what plans? Do you have plans to revitalize those productive sectors should you be given an opportunity, to lead?
Yes. So what I've been able to do is read both documents and see how we can merge both, because these are all great ideas. Like I said, River Gambia alone should be could be an economic backbone. So we need to revive, how we use River Gambia today. We need to create ports within the river, so we need to modernize, But even if you look at farming, we can create canals from River Gambia, irrigation schemes, that could create canals from River Gambia to the farms. Even energy, we can even look at different ways we can we can harness small hydrokinetic, turbine, energy, from River Gambia, because the river flows, there are currents, right? We can even create energy from River Gambia. So that River Gambia alone should be able to feed the whole of Gambia. So, because if you look at back, then when the Portuguese first came, that was a huge trade route. There was so much going on around, but it looks like we've abandoned that and, stagnation, and we've shifted our focus to other things that are not, yielding any dividend, that are in very low dividend for the country. So these are areas, PPP and Golden Era is recognized to be an economic backbone. So, like you said, those places need to be revitalized. We need to, every region should be a node, right, along the river, to make transportation easy, to make it more navigable, and then we can even use the same river for tourism, and so many activities, even for hydrokinetic electric generation. A lot can be done in that single river. And then we also have the Atlantic Ocean, so all this can be done by empowering Gambians, to create industries, and manufacturing, along the river, warehouse, logistics. This should be all strategically planned along River Gambia, so it's easy to move goods. We should be able to have our own textile industry. So, back in the day, we used to do cotton sourcing. Now we don't do that anymore. Look at our rice. The rice mills. We're still importing rice like never before. So we need to have our own textile industry.
Okay.
We should be, we should be able to create our own Gambia and everything else.
So, the Gambia. Okay. Thank you for that brilliant answer, Mr. Sawo. Mr. Sawo, the Gambia is currently facing a serious crisis. Our young people, are dying in hundreds or thousands at the high sea attempting to travel to Europe. And this has been a national issue. But still, the question is, why are young people leaving Gambia in large numbers, risking their life at the sea to migrate to Europe? What plans do you have for young people to stay put in the country and develop their country rather than traveling to look for greener pasture? You can't blame them, some will say, because there is no job opportunities. Do you have plans for these migrants? Are you going to tackle this migration issue? Because this has become a national crisis as we speak.
Yeah. Yes, it has become a national crisis, and it's something we definitely need to check within the first 100 days. My priority would be the reason why the root cause is right. Very limited opportunity in the Gambia, and no matter how hard you work here, you still can't make it because the cost of living is also very expensive. Affordability is a thing. You see people making $5,000 a, and then just to rent a small room, you're spending 2,500, 3,000 a month. So which is not sustainable. And that's why people, most of these people, they're doing it out of desperation, out of necessity. They feel like they can never make it in this country. Hard work there's no reward for hard work here. And that's the mentality most of the civil servants have. That's why they all want to serve in civil servants. So that way they could, they could plunder our resources even further. They could use it as an entitlement. So what we're trying to do is.
Are you in agreement? Are you in agreement with this mentality? Are you in agreement with this mentality that you can't make it in the country?
It's hard to make it here, and if you look at most of the people that are actually making it here, they're either stealing, I'm sorry I have to use that word, but, I'm just trying to be, I just have to call it as it is, it's like they have a sense of entitlement, that the money of Gambia belongs to them and it doesn't belong to nobody. But, but again, we need to be realistic. We need to create opportunities here, jobs, and not just create any type of job, but, high value jobs, jobs where these people can make so much money, they should be able to save and buy land. If you tell anybody here, hey, I'll pay you 50 or 100,000 a month, to get into farming, of course they will do it because, by the time you take out your expense and everything else, you still have enough money to save and then you can plan for your future. So we can do the same here in Gambia. We need high value jobs. We need skill center that commensurate with the opportunities that are out there. Because it's one thing to go to school, it's one thing to learn trade, but then if there's no place to work and use that skills, it's just as useless. You must not even go to school in the first place. So we need to work with the private industry, see how we can absorb these people that are coming out of this school curriculum programs, universities, after spending thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars, let's be, and then we need to train our people. We need to make sure they're well qualified, they're competent at what they do. Through that way, we can have more entrepreneurs also. Innovation can come down. So these are all things, we need to focus on how the youth can stay, create opportunities for them here, give them good paying jobs. Of course, they will stay. Travel will be an option. It's not going to be, something definitely out of necessity. They do this out of desperation. They've lost hope in the system. The system is not broke. It's completely broken. So we need to ensure meritocracy is a thing in the Gambia. You work hard, the sky's the limit.
So Saikou, is PPP Golden Party era very concerned about this migration issue, and how do you intend to tackle it within your 100 days? Should you be given that opportunity? Because as I said, this is a national crisis, and the government is now saying this is not only government responsibility. This is a responsibility of all actors, everyone, including parents, including political parties, including the civil society, the media.
Yeah, so within the first 100 days, I'll give you a quick example. Like Gambia, we have abundance of tomato in this country, right? We can, agriculture is one area I can focus on. We can start to make our own tomato paste here, right? We get it from the farms, we process it into tomato paste. This can create thousands of jobs where the youth can go work, right? We have skill centers in this country. We need to make sure those skill center or apprenticeship areas are well equipped. And then let's, for example, the construction industry, there's still a shortage of plumbers, masonry. People are bringing people outside of the Gambia, right? So we can focus on upskilling Gambians, create a program for them, have, good, well-equipped, vocational schools. And then we can have a public-private partnership with industries, within the Gambia. Like TAF. TAF is a global brand. We can, the government can work with people like TAF, Global Properties, to see how we can absorb these people that are coming from the country, that have skills, carpentry skills, plumbing, and then we can give them tax breaks or incentive to be able to hire, because they need hands-on experience, and it's very hard to get that here. So, imagine giving, companies like TAP, Global Properties, tax break to absorb these skills. Like, hey, these are people, they went to school, but they still need some fine-tuning and refinement. Let's help them with entry-level jobs. So if they absorb 1,000, 2,000 people, that would prevent, that would mitigate, all those risks of going through back way, because now they're working for a global brand, like global property staff. They're absorbing this, So like all I'm saying is it will take. It's a complex issue, but you can tackle. There's a strategic way to tackle that. You have to work with the industries in the Gambia, to absorb these people, and then after they've been absorbed 2-3 years in the job, they can also create jobs for other people, right? And get government contracts where they can build for the government, and then they can be part of those entrepreneurs that can start making products within the Gambia, because everything we do in this country is imported. Most of our goods are basic commodities, So value creation needs to be a thing, but you can't do that without having the skills, without having the experience. So, those are some of the things we want to do within the first 100 days, to curb these issues of migration and empower Gambians, to lead these industries.
Saikou, you yourself, you're an entrepreneur, and you're talking from an entrepreneurial perspective. How do you streamline your entrepreneurial spirit into politics to help young people? You lived in the US for many, many years, and then you decided to go back home, and, when you live in the US here, and then one day you pack your stuff and say, hey, I'm going Gambia, people think you are crazy, because they knew what's happening in the Gambia, because you have said it in the interview that a lot of young people lost confidence in the system. They are pushed out. That's why they are embarking on this dangerous journey. So how do you streamline your entrepreneurial journey success story into politics to better the lives of young people who are looking up to people like you?
Yes, exactly. I lived in the US comfortably, but it's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And if we all sit comfortably complaining on social media, nothing's going to change on the ground. That's why I came back home 5 years ago. And when I came, I just didn't sit around and complain. I just, there were there's so many challenges running a business in the Gambia, especially having that mindset from America. So you have to create a whole infrastructure just to have a successful business here. And, I've invested over 7 million into training and development, created over 40, 50 full-time jobs since I've been in the Gambia. And then, over $7 million has been spent training these people so they can have the skills. And I can confidently say today, most of those people that worked, even now or previously, they can go anywhere and get, it's a skill. It stays with you for a lifetime. It's like the skills I've acquired. So it doesn't matter, in the next 20 years, I can still fend for myself. So we want Gambians to, that dependability is a big thing. Even when people go abroad, you have the whole family relying.
I don't want to cut you. You as an hopefully you're gonna come back. So I just gonna cut you. We can capture jobs with your organization. So if you're given opportunities, we'll be able to create 100,000 jobs or more.
Yes, that's the goal. We should create more good-paying jobs so that way people can live comfortably in the country. So every Gambian should think like this. We should all contribute something back home. Like they say, power is tested not by how you benefit from it, but how you use it to benefit others. So this is the mantra for me, and this is what I've been doing on the ground. And we implore all Gambians to think like this, have this mindset, and be part of nation building. Nobody should sit on the sideline and point fingers at other people. It's a responsibility for all of us as patriotic citizens to do the needful.
Absolutely, because I'm impressed, by a young guy like you creating at least that kind of job for young people. So if we are given that opportunity to lead, I'm meaning you will be able to create more jobs than you are doing right now. And I wish you a good luck in that aspect. But going forward, we are just left with 4 minutes to go because the interview is just 1 hour, but it's getting interesting. So, your personal appeal to young people, especially the youths, you have been vocal about purpose and renewal. How do you plan to mobilize young voters under 40 who may feel delusion with politics, and what role do you see them playing in your campaign?
Yes, I'm appealing to the youth, and this is, it's time. Other countries are doing it. You have smaller countries, like Rwanda, Burkina Faso, for instance, Traore, he's also under 40. Other countries are doing it, so why not?
Captain Ibrahim.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So if other
Yeah.
countries are doing it, we don't have excuse. And Gambia is a much smaller country, much easier to develop. So we need the youth to be part of this because we want better infrastructure for our kids. We want, good internet, utilities. We want the cost of living to come down. These are all, part of our agenda, for a better Gambia because we want to lift Gambia all along. We want made in Gambia to be a thing. This outfit that I'm wearing, we need it to be made here in the Gambia, the cotton, and then, we should revitalize that fashion industry where, we train the young Gambians into tailoring, they can make this stuff here in the Gambia. So, that's my ideology. So I'm appealing to the youth, do not sit on the sideline. It's 2026. Your vote matters, your voice counts. I've been doing surveys, to tell Gambians, hey, we're ready to listen to them. And we're ready to hear from them. We want to know what their needs are. We're not saying we have all the solutions, but we want to work with other Gambians. There are a lot of Gambians overseas in the diaspora, the subject matter experts, the scientists. We want them to all come together. Nation building is not done by one person, it's to take collective effort, but it requires dialogue between, people, parties. So we want everybody to come along. We don't care about your race, religion. As long as you're a Gambian, you fit the criteria. Be part of nation building, be part of national development. And now is the time to unite. Now is the time to set the bar high. Now is the time to ask the tough questions to this politician. Now it's time to look at their track record. What have they done even before politics, and what do they plan to do next? Let's make sure we vote for people, that can fend for themselves with or without politics, right? So, this is the time to be critical thinkers and to make the best decision because our country's at a crossroad and we cannot afford to waste another 5 years of, there has to be a sense of urgency. Gambia needs better healthcare system. We need to revamp our education. So we cannot be moving slow or only doing, fixing roads when it's time for election. We need to be working all day, night, 24 hours. You go to countries like Dubai, even in the US, they have people doing road construction at night. Why can't we do the same? And they already have better infrastructure than us. So we don't have any excuses. They work till 4 p.m., then they're done for the day. You in the US, you've seen how they build the roads. They have night shift crew and their crew, and they already have infrastructure. So we need leaders that understand the sense of urgency. That hey, these infrastructures are critical and it needs to be fixed immediately. So this is my mindset, and I also have a military background, so execution, discipline, service, sense of urgency. We need to move quick.
No. Don't bring the military back because we had an experience with a young military officer Saikou. Anyway, on a serious note, Saikou, a lot of people are like We have seen young people who came with brilliant ideas. We have seen the likes of Dr. Ismail Sise. We have seen the likes of who again, a lot of young people came into politics, but at the end of the day, they got a lot of support when they came. But what happened later will shock you. They either defeat the purpose of their own noble creation of things they want to do to change the country, and later on we see what have happened. What will make Saikou different from other young leaders who cast or seek for people mandate and later talk against them?
Yeah, one thing I can tell you, one thing I can guarantee, because I can only speak for myself, I'm never going to sell out.
Can you say?
Can you hear me? Yes,
yeah, I can hear you well. Yes.
Yeah, to briefly answer the question, I'm never going to sell out. I've been able to do so much with the help of Allah on my own to where I am today. I'm constantly giving out. I'm constantly saying, advocating for different ways we can help youth in the Gambia. And like I said, we've been doing this way before politics, behind the scenes. And then now that we're into politics, we continue to do it. And now we're documenting it. So I think that's what sets us differently. Again, like Nene, for instance, she's done a lot of philanthropic work. The media doesn't even know about that I've seen, that are worth millions of dollars. And now that we're into politics, we continue to do those stuff. So one thing, and we're not power hungry. We're not greedy for that power. Even outside of politics today, I will still be an entrepreneur. I have a master's degree. I can go anywhere in the world, back to the US or anywhere in the world, or even in the Gambia, to create more businesses or go back to the corporate world. So the options are there for me. I'm not limited to, it's not a do or die for me for politics, So that's what sets us apart.
Never going to say that you are not in politics for to enrich yourself, or you are not in politics to look for position. Why are you into politics? Because a lot of people will be like, successful businessmen like you will naturally stay away from politics, because politics is dirty, they say. So, is your politics based on self-enrichment, or, just to become president? Or this is far more than that?
No, this is far more than that. I want a better Gambia. I want a Gambia we all can be proud of. I've been to 30 different countries, US and within Africa. I've seen how other countries look. When you come to our airports, the first place you see, for people flying in, you look at the airport, it's embarrassing, and when people come, like, why, so it's, again, if you come into Gambia, you think we're in a war zone. Everywhere looks dusty, there's no proper urban planning, so it's not something I'm proud of. I want that to change, and I want, to see Gambians dying back way, in thousands of numbers. It's absurd. I'm not happy seeing that. To see the women struggle, not have water. It's 2026. Women are struggling every day. They don't have water. Water, a basic, and all they ask is, hey, can you guys help us with borehole? We need water. Can you imagine? They're not even thinking about digital transformation. They're not even thinking about, AI. They just want water and they'll be fine. They're just asking you for the simplest things. So these are things we shouldn't accept as a country. That's why we need to come out. We need to, some of these conversations are difficult. Some may easily get offended, but the truth is the truth. I'm not the one saying it, the people. So, we are the voice of the people. And if you look at, the slogan of PPP, the voice of the people is the voice of God. So, because I feel like if we sit on the sidelines, because we have small change, we feel like we're happy, we're comfortable, we're part of the problem, because, silence, because that silence shows, hey, you accept the system because you are okay. I'm a selfless individual. I've done a lot behind the scenes that I need not to say here. So a better Gambia works for all of us. Like today, if I get sick and, there are hospitals here that are not well equipped, guess what? I would have to go outside of the Gambia. Why should that be? I should be treated here in the Gambia. I shouldn't have to travel overseas for treatment, and look at, no matter how expensive your car is in the Gambia, there are some areas where even in Congo, the roads are still bad, there are potholes everywhere. So like I said, it's a national thing. It affects everybody, whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. And for me, being rich or poor doesn't matter. It's, doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking, that's what matters to me. And like I'm not a career politician, but I've done politics because I want to make a great impact. I want Gambia to be on the global map. I want Gambians to be
Right, right.
respected, across the globe.
Absolutely. Saikou, we are at the end of this interview. I think you're very busy right now. I think you have another engagement at 7 p.m. your time, and it's 5 minutes on top of the hour. But
Yeah.
finally, this will be my final question to you. Mr. Sao, what is your message to Gambians tuning in right now to the final take with me, Seni Marina, especially the youth, as we head into this crucial election? When I write editorials, I will be like, the 2026 December election is a very, very crucial election. I will say it's an election between forces of good and forces of evil. So I will allow you to give your final message to Gambians who are tuning in right now before I let you go.
Yes, so I appeal to Gambians at home and abroad. It's our right to want our country to be better. It's our right to fight corruption. It's our right to make sure state resources are being used to benefit Gambians. These people you elected into power, you gave them that authority, so they should serve you, right? You vote for me, I should be here to serve your interests. Every projects that are coming into the Gambia, we should be asking these tough questions. How does it benefit the Gambians? How does it benefit the women, the kids? You know, 5, 10 years from now, what are Gambians going to derive? Is this a project Gambians will be proud of? Is it going to pay dividend at the end of the day? So these are some of the questions I want Gambians to think, reflect on, and make sure they make the right decision. And leave um, nepotism on the side. Let's do this for our country. The time is now. And my message to the Gambians are clear. There are other people that are on the sidelines. They haven't made up their mind. But encourage them, to participate. Go to these forums. Share their voice. Complain. See. Talk to different political leaders, not just PPP. Ask them the tough questions. What is their agenda? Whether you're a teacher, civil servant, fire service, how does this PPP or gold, usher me into the golden era? And if you cannot identify yourself within their agenda, then that means they don't represent you. And I'm big on inclusivity. We want every Gambians to be part of success because their success is our success. Our national transformation benefits all Gambians. And we want all Gambians in the diaspora, including yourself, to come back home. So yeah, please, we are appealing, do not sit on the sidelines. So vote matters. We need a lot of new voters to come in and show their strength. Gambians are very resilient people. With all these challenges and struggles we face, we are still here, we are still smiling. So imagine we have a visionary leader that hears our pains, that are here to provide tangible solutions that we can feel. We're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So it's time for change.
Absolutely. For many thanks for that, Mr. Saikou Sawo. For those tuning in, this is the final take with me, Seni Marina, that bring us to the end of this interesting conversation. I think I will bring Mr. Sawo again because 1 hour is not enough to discuss all the plans he has for the country. Mr. Sawo, once again, thank you for honoring my invitation to be on the final take. And I wish you good luck with your preparations ahead of the polls. And then young people, I know a lot of young people are watching this, and I could see comments coming in that, it's a great interview. And then, you are an inspiring leader. Good luck with that and all the best.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the final take with me, Seni Marina, live from our virtual studio here in Seattle, Washington. With me in the studio is Saikou Sawo, who has been elected as the flag bearer for the PPP Golden Party coalition together. So until come you next time, do follow all the interesting programs on the Alcamba Times. It's me, your host, Seni Mara. Until then, do have a pleasant weekend and do enjoy. Read Alcamba Times for all your latest news, news analysis. And then next week, we'll bring you another exciting guest, probably from the Independent Electoral Commission, to discuss about the election preparations ahead of the December polls. There is a lot happening in the country. A lot of political parties are preparing, but the question remains, will the Gambian opposition parties come together as they did in 2016 to send the former president packing? Are they really into a coalition that will also send Barrow's NPP into parking? Until then, do enjoy the Alcamba Times. Bye-bye.
Tune into the final take with MK Marina every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive